All right, today on The Explainer, we're diving into a really tough story out of Atlanta. A shooting that shattered the peace at the CDC and Emory University. Places you normally think of for science and learning, not violence. We're going to break down what happened, talk about the hero we lost, and unpack the really difficult questions this whole thing raises.
And really, this whole story just boils down to these three things, right? You've got this sudden, shocking violence. You've got an incredible act of heroism that ended in tragedy. And then you have this search for why it all happened. And that's where things get really complicated.
So let's set the scene. We're in Atlanta. It's Friday, August 8th, 2025. And we're talking about an area that's home to two huge institutions, right? The Centers for Disease Control and Emory University. These are global names in research and education. But on this one day, that landscape of learning, it just became a scene of absolute chaos. And right in the middle of that chaos, imagine this. Phones all over the Emory campus start buzzing. It's an official active shooter alert. And it's got just 3 words on it: run, hide, fight. I mean, talk about a modern nightmare. Those 3 words tell you everything you need to know about how serious and terrifying the situation was in that exact moment.
Okay, so let's get right to it. What was the immediate tragic outcome here? What was the human cost of this attack?
When the dust finally settled, this is what we were left with. 2 people dead. The man they believe was the shooter, and a police officer who was responding to the call. And here is the thing that's just incredible. Amidst all that horror, no civilians were hurt. It's truly a small miracle.
So to really understand how we got to that outcome, we've got to walk through the timeline. How did this afternoon just completely unravel?
Yeah,
So how does a completely normal Friday afternoon just spiral into this kind of violence? Let's break it down.
this whole thing happened so fast. It's just before 5 p.m. when a masked gunman opens fire near the CDC. Right after that, he runs into a nearby CVS, and that's where it ends. He was later found dead inside that pharmacy. Now, one of the key details investigators are still trying to pin down is whether he was killed by officers or died by suicide. When you look at what happened, there are really 2 powerful stories playing out at the exact same time. They're complete opposites. One is about just devastating loss, and the other is about incredible, profound relief. So on the one hand, you have this officer. He responded to the scene, confronted the gunman, and was critically wounded in the process. They rushed him to the hospital, but tragically, he didn't make it. He literally gave his life to protect others from harm. And then there's the other side of that sacrifice. 92. That's not just some number. At the time of the shooting, that's how many kids were at the CDC's on-campus daycare. And thanks to that rapid law enforcement response, all 92 of them were kept safe. Every single one. Let's put a name to this hero. He was Officer David Rose of the DeKalb County Police, only 33 years old. And this is the truly heartbreaking part. He left behind 2 children and his wife, who was pregnant with their 3rd. His family was just shattered by his act of service. All right, so with something this shocking, the next question is always why? Why did this happen? And while the official investigation is still going, authorities and even the family have started to paint a really disturbing picture of what might have been going on.
I mean, that's the real question, isn't it? What on earth would drive someone to go and attack a public health institution like the CDC?
So, according to what authorities and his family have said, the suspect believed he was sick, and he blamed his condition directly on the COVID-19 vaccine. That belief seems to have just spiraled, It grew into this deep hostility aimed right at the CDC. And the most tragic part, it seems there were warning signs. The suspect's own father had actually alerted law enforcement before because he was worried his son was suicidal. It just adds another layer of heartbreak to this whole thing. So now that the immediate crisis is over, the focus totally shifts. Now it's all about the massive investigation that's underway to piece together exactly what happened. And you can really see how serious this is just by looking at who's involved. This isn't just a local police matter, no way. You've got the FBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Atlanta PD, DeKalb County officials. It's a huge multi-agency effort. They're all collaborating to build the definitive account of the attack.
And so here we are. A community is mourning its hero. At the same time, investigators are sifting through all the evidence. They're trying to find answers, not just for this one tragedy, but for a much bigger, more unsettling question. In an age like ours, with so much intense medical debate and misinformation out there, how do we stop a personal grievance from turning into public violence? Thank you for joining us for this explainer.